Hello and welcome. My name is Faith Johnson and I'm an alumna of the School of Engineering. Thank you for joining us this morning for the Rutgers University Alumni Association virtual event, How to Graduate During a Crisis and Pivot for Success. It is my pleasure to introduce Soham Thacker. Soham arrived at Rutgers University School of Engineering as an international student from India. After a successful 4 years on campus, he graduated during the 2008 economic recession. Following graduation, he briefly worked in the US before returning to India. This is when Soham decided to use the skills he learned at the School of Engineering and pivot towards becoming an entrepreneur. His first endeavor was the creation of a taco truck in Ahmedabad. This one taco truck boomed into 13 restaurants. In October of 2019, after selling his popular restaurant chain and a couple of not-so-successful startups, Soham founded Gamerg. Gamerg is an online gaming platform where Indians can compete in video games for financial rewards. The platform currently has more than 500,000 members and is growing exponentially every day. All attendees have been placed on mute for the duration of this discussion. If you have questions, please send them via the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. Following the discussion, I'll read your questions to Soham, and we'll try to get in as many as possible. So, without further ado, please welcome Soham Thacker.
Thank you, Faith, for the lovely introduction.
Of course. So, welcome, Soham. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I hope you and your family are staying safe. First, can you tell our audience where you're joining us from?
Well, I'm based off of a town called Ahmedabad. It's about an hour from our flight from Mumbai, based in west of India. Have been here since the last 8 years since I moved back from the States.
So that must be such a great time difference from here.
Well, yes, it's almost dinner time. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. So.
Wow. Well, once again, thank you for being here.
No problem. My pleasure.
Before we talk about your professional success, I want to touch on your time at Rutgers, especially because your academic major doesn't necessarily match your career thus far. What made you choose the Rutgers School of Engineering?
Well, to be honest, especially during my high school days, I always wanted to become an electrical engineer. Something was always in my interest. However, my later part of my life, there's something different. But that's the reason why I joined electrical engineering and computer engineering at Rutgers. Fortunately, I got accepted in the program. Was like you guys know, I'm a student, so was given an opportunity to study in the United States, come there and in the School of Engineering. And to be honest, electrical engineering was something I always wanted to pursue. It's not something which I ended up doing, but at that time it seemed like the right option.
Cool. Now let's talk about the climate you graduated into in 2008. What were some of the struggles you faced graduating during an economic recession, not unlike the recession recent graduates will be facing now?
Well, to be honest, nothing compares to the time today. I don't know. It's something which is a lot more critical than just economic crisis. But I did not graduate at a very good time either. And to be honest, I was not one of the brightest students of my class either. I was an average student, and especially being an international student, it was even hard to find jobs at that point of time. But I remember, not giving up, especially when I was a junior. Even harder getting internships. Especially, it's an ideal path if you get an internship over the summer. Then more often than not, your full-time position is secure. But since I graduated at one of the worst times possible, I spent my junior year summer working in McDonald's. It was not an ideal internship that I landed in. But I did not give up. I kept trying. No interview was bad. No company was not worth applying to. I did not restrict myself. Obviously, I was open to accepting roles which were not for electrical engineering roles at that point of time, to be honest. But fortunately, I did land up in something that I wanted to do. I might have given not less than about 50 interviews.
Wow.
I don't exactly remember, but 50, I'm talking on a lower, could have been more. And spent every evening, literally applying to every position I could lay my hands on. Yes, the Rutgers Career Services was very, very helpful, but it's it's something that I had a lot of work to do myself. So I also recommend the same for graduating students. Keep trying. I'm sure you'll land up in a job. Your first job might not be the ideal job that I want to do, but eventually, within the next couple of years, once the dust settles down, you'll find something.
That's some great advice. So, for the next question, what was the impetus that led you to decide to move back to India?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't call it moving back to India. I decided to move to India because my family is still in the States.
Okay.
So it was a decision I made, for a couple of reasons. One, I saw the gap in the market. I wanted to do something in a developing country. Uh, India was India was a India was a choice because fortunately I belong to the Indian roots, so it kind of helped me make that choice. But what drove me to come back here was the spirit of entrepreneurship. It was also something that I wanted to kind of experiment with. I did not come here with an intention to stay here this long. I came here with an intention to try it out for a year, maybe a little more, and then see if I like it here or not. But fortunately, I did. I you know I did find early success with my food industry venture, and that kind of motivated me to stay here longer. And now it's almost been close to 9 years that I've been.
That's such a long time. Wow.
I know,
Especially with
right?
your family
It'll be a
still in
while.
the States. But speaking of your food industry venture, why did you choose a taco truck as your first venture?
Grease trucks. I graduated when grease trucks were right across Scott Hall, something which I survived on for 4 years at Rutgers. Well, no, jokes apart, but that was really the motivation. I saw how the food trucks were something which was which made economical sense. Lesser overheads. Something that, and to be honest, you know, even when I was at college, and I'm sure even today, students, it's something that students can afford and love at the same time. And I figured if something like that would work out in the States. I mean, students are students wherever you go.
Right.
And taco truck was the reason to stick with Mexican food. Was it was something which is very close to the Indian taste palette, and something that I thought would do better than any other cuisine. So tried, experimented, worked.
Great. As a recent graduate, I guess we didn't have grease trucks right across from Scott Hall, but there were still a few, and then they definitely
I know they made
opened.
buildings there. It's a
Yeah,
chain.
and they opened a restaurant from one of the grease trucks, so I definitely understand where you're coming from with the food.
I know. I've been there, but it's still not the same.
Very much true. So speaking kind of, I guess, along these lines also, why did you decide to sell your business? Taco truck one
A
restaurant.
couple of things. Obviously, valuation, economic sense, etc. were one part of it. But also, to be honest, food industry got a little taxing on it. After almost 4 years into the venture, 13 restaurants. I wanted to move back to tech. I wanted to move back to technology, to you know honestly take a break from the food industry. Food industry is something that can be very, very taxing on you,
Mhm.
especially if it's not something that you see do for the rest of your life. And yes, it started out of passion for starting an entrepreneurial venture, something which was cost effective, had potential, grew, but it got to me,
Right.
and I got a good offer which I could not refuse. So it made sense.
So can you talk to us a little bit about your current venture, Gamerg? Esports has really exploded in recent years, and especially now that the world has been in quarantine. So why did you choose to go from the food industry to the gaming industry?
Well, I did not just directly jump from a food industry to a gaming industry. In the middle of them, I had a couple of ventures which did not do as well.
Mm.
I actually from the food industry went to a service marketplace platform, where I was allowing the students in the country to have virtual internships and then provide their services via online platform. Unfortunately, that did not see the light of the day. Followed by that, I developed a game. It was a game where I took the concepts of the the NFL or the NBA drafts that I still play season. Fortunately, I don't know if this season happened, but and modified it for the game of cricket in India, and that evolves into me entering into the gaming space and now into sports. Gamerg is fairly young. It's only been about 8 months since we launched the platform, but I'm definitely seeing a lot of boost in the gaming sector, especially not only because of COVID, but even before these times. The whole mindset shift from considering gaming as just an entertainment now into an actual serious, sometimes even for some people even careers is where I see it growing in, and I definitely wanted to make a business out of it. Hopefully, I will.
We hope you do too. So while the gaming industry and the food industry, and then you mentioned a couple industries in between, may not seem to have a lot of overlap, it seems like one may have necessarily prepared you for the other. So what skills have you used in both of your very different businesses that maybe helped you transfer to Gamergy?
Well, a couple of things, and not only in the business, but even talking about my time at Rutgers, and then working in corporate America, and then every decision or every stage of my career has taught me something better. Especially in Rutgers, like I said, I had to hustle my way through to finding my first job. So the never give up attitude.
Right.
Talking about corporate America, making sure, especially because it was around the recession time, to accept, to stay ahead of the curve, to make sure that you give your 100 more than 100% at your work, something in. The fast food truck, made sure that I worked longer hours. Physical exertion was just a part of the trade. And then the failed ventures teach you even more. So the mistakes that you made, you can't take business for granted. Knowing your numbers right, making plans, staying more focused. Raising the right amount of funds, you know, pitching to the right amount of investors, raising capital, and so on and so forth. So it starts with you having the engineering aptitude, which really you could use in all different phases.
So you've kind of touched about this a little bit, but as someone who's graduated during a recession and therefore probably didn't have much work experience on your resume, what advice can you give those who will be looking for jobs in this tough market?
Well, like I said, none of no job is bad. Yes, you might not find the I some of you might be looking at especially I know I was looking at job in Goldman Sachs and Citibank and on Wall Street then, and and then looking at the best company out there, but they'll find you. It's not like your first job defines what your life is going to be.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong in starting with a smaller organization or a startup, building your career, because like I said, every organization will give you a set of experience which will definitely matter. How you perform in your following your work. So and even if you don't end up finding a job right after graduation, it's okay. I was just waiting in my apartment for 3 months just to get that call, saying that you were accepted. So it's okay. I waited 3 months, literally wondering what should I do. It's fine. It'll come. But don't stop trying. I remember a few colleagues of mine, especially during my senior year of Rutgers, who got disappointed, few international students who decided to move back. They didn't even stay for the convocation.
Mhm.
So and to be honest, that's not the right way.
Right.
Like I said, I applied to more than 100 companies, gave more than 50 interviews. There's nothing.
So you've kind of touched about how endurance and patience are some really good skills. But have you been able to apply the skills you learned at Rutgers School of Engineering to the businesses that you've created?
Well, to be honest, entrepreneurship or businesses also come with their own challenges. Patience, yes, it's required at every phase of it. But to be honest, it's also okay to fail, and that's
Right.
something that I've learned, the hard way. And it's okay to to not have things go the way you planned them to. And it for me, I think most of the time it did not go the way I planned. Even today, though we are sitting at half a million gamers on the platform, I'm in the process of raising day capital, in talks with a few companies across the states, and every single phase, you require patience and uh, constant dedication. So, and and fear of failure is something which will only drive yourself. So don't do that. It's fine if you don't succeed. I didn't. Most of my life I didn't. So, and sometimes I even question what I'm doing here. But
But I'm sure that
that's it.
also just caused you to redefine your definition of success also.
Well, to be honest, we kind of misinterpret success with money, right? We
Right.
always say that, yeah, if you make good money, you're successful. I don't think so. I mean, I've gotten a life experience out of what I've done in the last decade after I graduated from Rutgers. You know, I mean, I've been literally all over the place, hustling my way out, learning new things. Now in the gaming world, yes, I loved playing games, but does that mean that I'm meant for the gaming world? I don't know yet. I'm trying to learn every single way I possibly can.
Is there anything you would have done differently in creating your ventures?
Uh, yes and no. Yes, now because I know the mistakes I made. No, back then because I really did not know what I was getting into. But it's okay. You know, yes, I would have done a couple of things differently. I would have, probably stuck in the US for a little longer. I was a little impatient, wanting to kind of get out of the corporate world, wanting to start my own venture, and the startup dream kind of or the startup bug bit me then. I wanted to have something on my own, have that tag that said CEO. Too young to do that. You know, so even if now I make sure that I never put CEO on my tag, it's always a founder.
Right.
I'm not a CEO. I'm not a CEO material yet.
Let's see. Okay, so the next question is, can you give us an example of a happy mistake? That is something that
Uh,
seemed detrimental to your success at the time, but is now something you wouldn't change about your story.
Moving to India. You know, to be honest, when I left my job in the U.S., obviously I was making a good salary. Something that I let go of. And at that time, it seemed like suddenly you are not having a deposit in your account every 2 weeks.
Right.
And suddenly you are in that situation where from you not worrying to have to spend $100 a night in Atlantic City versus spending $5 at Taco Bell seemed difficult. So,
Definitely.
so yes, and then it I kind of it kind of something that I constantly debated whether I should stick with the job or take risks with my life, and to be honest, my family was extremely against me, quitting a stable job, moving to an unknown place, starting something of my own. Obviously, that's how families are. And now I don't regret it. But at that stage, I thought it might be a wrong decision.
Did you know anyone in India before you moved?
Nope,
Wow. Okay. So
not even distant relatives. I just look Indian. Otherwise, there was nothing that connected me.
honestly, that's very brave of you because I don't know if I could have done that.
I'm sure anyone can. Just
Uh,
you should just have the need to want to.
true. So before we get to audience questions, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Now, recessions will pass. Hopefully, COVID does sooner, and I'll get there. And to be honest, if at all, if gaming is something that excites you, feel free to drop me a message anytime on LinkedIn. I'll be more than happy to connect and help you guys whatever way I possibly.
Okay. So for our first audience question, was it difficult for you to decide to forgo using your engineering degree in the traditional sense?
You never let go of your engineering degree because engineering stays with you forever. Yes, you might let go of the books and something that you or the projects or the theory that you learned while you were pursuing your engineering. But engineering for me is more than just the theory. It's the way you apply your mind. It's the way you apply solutions to problems. And I still haven't let go of my engineering.
I agree. It's definitely more of a mindset and a way to think than anything
Exactly,
else.
exactly.
Okay, next question. It was mentioned in the intro that you had a few failed ventures. Did you learn anything from those failures that helped with your current successes?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And not only failed ventures, but there are also failed decisions in your successful ventures that you learn from. And to be honest, talking about the internship marketplace that I made, I realized it was way ahead of time. For me to introduce something like this to the Indian education system. I learned something in the States, and I thought it would be the same here, but it's not. For me to understand the market, I was a lot more important, before even executing something. I went wrong. I fell face down. It's okay.
So we have an audience question. Um,
Sure.
Elvin asks if you have one thought that they can share with their students in corrections, what would you share?
Sorry.
Um,
Just repeat that.
so their question is if you had a thought that they can share with their students in corrections. So I'm not quite sure what they mean by corrections.
Interesting. Alvin, could you please elaborate?
Yeah. Oh, they're from a correctional facility. So I guess they're saying, is there one thing you could share with someone who I guess might be in um, like a prison or a jail, who kind of has to start over once they get out?
Well, to be honest, aren't all of us jailed right now? We're all sitting
That's
at
true.
home, right? But to be honest, the world is right now, fortunately, up for a fresh start. And if if at all, I think how the world is welcoming a fresh start. Everyone should be welcoming someone from a correctional facility.
Agreed.
So and yes, there might be organizations which might take a negative impression out of that, but fortunately, even talking to a lot of my colleagues who graduated with me in Rutgers, they are a lot more open now to not only hiring but also accepting people who have come from correctional. So if
Um,
someone who again wants it requires any assistance that segment, I'll be more than happy to.
so you were just talking about fresh starts. So it's kind of difficult sometimes to realize when is a good time to leave a job that you currently have. So how did you know it was time to leave a job or an unsuccessful venture?
To be honest, I was bored. No, no, not really. But there's never a right time or there's never a wrong. Uh, you know, until unless you get fired or laid off, there's never a wrong time to do the job. And it's for me, it was more like it was I'd rather do it sooner if I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing than just wait it out and suck it up. So that's what I did. I was not enjoying what I was doing. Yes, I took up a responsibility. I made sure that I was finished with my projects. I did not leave with a bad impression on the company. But for my personal growth, it was required for me to let something go. So
Right.
until unless you let something go, you're never going to find something. It's never a wrong or a right time to find the time.
Right. So we have a new question. What were the lifestyle changes you took to transition from living on a paycheck to living off your own business's income?
Like I said, you know, it's literally your spending pattern, like changed completely. I graduated, I had my first job, obviously, like all of you are. I was 21 back then. Got myself a Honda CBR 1000, got myself an Acura TL, brand new. You know, was living paycheck to paycheck. You know, enjoying, and then suddenly I decided to quit everything. Was left back on public transport and worrying about whether I should go to McDonald's or Taco Bell. The fancy restaurants were not in my radar anymore. So yes, it is something where you require a lifestyle change, but something that if it's going to be a happier place in the long run, it's okay. Yes, there were sacrifices that I had to make the first few months, but you have to be prepared for it.
And it seems
Not
like it's
easy to
paid
let
off
go of a
too.
paycheck. Well, yes and no. Time will tell, but at least I do not regret letting it go. It's very difficult to let a paycheck go, to be honest.
That's true. What do you think the biggest challenge for students graduating 2 to 3 years from now will be, assuming that the whole Corona business is over with by then?
See, honestly, if you're an engineering student, it wouldn't matter. Because like
That's
we
true.
said, it's the way you think it's going to matter, and you've already learned that. If you're already a junior or a senior, I'm sure our great faculty at Rutgers has made sure that you learn that. And if you are in something which is closer to pharma sector or healthcare sector, I'm sure the next 2 years are going to be challenging, and they are going to be boarding at the same time. So if you're like a biomedical engineer, or even closer to the healthcare sector, sure it'll work out a lot better. At least that's what I'm assuming. But next 2 years, are going to be a little. I think we're post 2 years, things are going to come back to normal. I trust, the people to get it back to.
Or maybe even better than a previous normal.
Yes, right? Because you have a chance to rewrite a lot of things, and it
Right.
could really be better.
So, kind of going back to talking about when you first moved to India, what
Right.
factors did you look at to identify holes in the market that you could fill with your entrepreneurial venture? So, like, what key things stood out to you, or how did you find a niche whose needs weren't being met?
So to be honest, I first came to India to study the market, to survey. Uh, you know, I came here with an idea. I did not come here and then look for an idea.
Okay.
So the taco truck was an idea that, and another other friend of mine who also is a Rutgers graduate, Rutgers Business School. So both of us decided to kind of come here, see what's out there, and we figured that a taco truck is something that could uh, that could become a hit, and it did. So yes, and yes, there was a lot of things that we had to learn while in the process of how to make a truck was something which was a challenge, how to get the right ingredients, right equipments, etc. But wherever you go, I'm sure as long as you know how to talk to people, you'll find your. And we were not shy to speak with anybody.
Mhm.
We literally would go out on the streets, and talk to people. And trust me, there are more than enough number of people who would answer in a positive manner, help you out. And I could say that for the entire world. And I don't think, and I can vouch for it that you can go any corner of the world and people will help you out.
I agree. Speaking of people who've helped you out, have you had any mentors along your journey?
I have. In every venture, I've had someone mentored me. Even right now, Gamerg, we are being mentored by Wim Stocks, who's the general manager and CEO of World Gaming Collegiate Star League. So it's very good to have mentors, especially people who have experience, and be open to advice. That
Right.
something that we're not very good at listening, but if you have the right mentor to listen to them, sure they can help you.
So we have another audience question. Um, Suraj says, thanks for the reply, but as a follow up, what are your day to day activities like at Gamerg?
Well, right now they're a little different than what it was when we go to the office. So literally, I'm on calls my entire first half, taking reviews, updates for every different department of my team. So have teams which handle customer care, which handle gaming operations, we have game moderators, we have tournament conductors, we have live streamers. So we so in the that's my first day is usually taking updates from my team, understanding their problems, and then solving them. And the second half of my day is mostly working on future plans, strategies. We're also in the process of raising our next round of capital. So speaking with venture capitals, speaking with investors, getting the deck polished. Yeah, every day is a new day. And research new games. So, if you have any games that you think are going to be exciting, we are in the process of adding Valorant to our platform. So yeah, staying updated with what's going on in the gaming world is also a part of my job.
What games does Gamerg have now?
Well, essentially what we are an esports or a tournament platform. So we are not game publishers. So what we do is we tie up with game publishers and then we host tournaments on our platform for semi-pro or amateur gamers. So we right now support titles like PUBG Mobile, Free Fire, Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, uh, uh, WCC Rivals, uh, Call of Duty Mobile. We are now in July. We're getting Fortnite, Valorant, and FIFA. These are the
Ooh,
popular games in this part of the country.
right. So Tania asks, could you let us know how you figured out the various parts of starting a business, given that your education is mostly technical?
Like I said, I learned on the floor. Not like it was not like I how something would operate from day one. Learned every day was a learning curve. Even today, if you look at how I used to manage my first venture versus what I manage today, it's completely different. I'm more organized. I believe in a structure. My first venture was all over. I used to take notes on on uh, on refrigerators and papers that would lie around all the way in my room. Now I'm a little more, you know, but but to answer your question, it's business is not something that you know can learn. It's something that that you will have to experience to learn. No theory can really help you know exactly the process which will help you run your business.
Right.
At least that's what my experience does.
Um, Towards the beginning of this, or even now, did you have kind of fear of failure? And if you did, how did you get over it?
I did initially when I was, like I said, when I had just let go of my paycheck. But over the course of time, you know, it's like, you know, if you fail enough number of times, it doesn't scare you anymore. And that's what happened with me.
Cool. Okay. Um, do you have any advice for accepting a job offer that might not necessarily be your dream job?
Don't have an option. Something's better than nothing.
That's
But
true.
like I said, it's not your first job is not your last job. And please don't make that mistake. Your first job cannot be your last job because most of the times, we are in a world which is very, very dynamic. You'll always find something which you love to do, unless you already found something that you love to do. It's a different story. But you know, I did not for at least the first what, five, 4, 5, 2 jobs, 3 ventures. I did not find something which I love to do, and now finally, I'm in a much better space where I could say that I love what I'm doing. So it's
What part of Gamerg are you most passionate about?
games.
Games.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I was a gamer and I always have been. I started literally by playing, games like Counter Strike, and Madden back in the days in the dorm rooms. Yeah, now I love just having people play on my platform. Almost close to about few hundred tournaments every day on the platforms.
Cool. All right. So that seems to be all of the questions
Sure.
that the audience has asked.
Great. So
Great.
I can give you another minute. If you have any questions, please feel free to post it. Or like I said, if there are any questions that pop out after we are done with the call, feel free to reach me via LinkedIn, and I'll make sure to answer most.
All right. So as it seems that there are no more questions, I'd just like to thank, first of all, Soham, but also all of our attendings for joining us today. And I hope that everyone stays safe.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you so much for interviewing and giving us an amazing experience.
Of course. Bye.
Bye now.